Hi, romance readers. I am Liz Donatelli. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, the #1 romance novel talk show on YouTube. New York Times and USA Today bestselling author Roni Loren joins me to discuss her contemporary friends to lovers romance, For You and No One Else, book 3 in the Say Everything trilogy. And Roni plays Would You Rather Digital versus Analog Edition. Enjoy and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, Roni. Welcome back to Reader Seeks Romance.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
First off, how does it feel to have closed a chapter, pun intended, on your Say Everything series?
I think I always knew this one was going to be 3. I don't know why. It just felt like the right number. So when I was writing it, it was a little bittersweet, that I knew it was going to end, but I didn't really feel like I was leaving stories untold. And then the epilogue of this one is, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the epilogue is kind of a unique epilogue. And so when I was writing that, because it closes out the first and second book as well, I did get a little like, oh, I got to say goodbye to all these characters. But yeah, I think it's like bittersweet, but also like, okay, that was what I wanted to do. And I feel good about, kind of closing it here.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned the epilogue. I won't go into it, but it is unique. It is an epistolary style kind of wrap up. That's very satisfying for the whole series.
Yeah, it was because I think I didn't want to write the same kind of epilogue, because sometimes epilogues, we all want our happy endings and all of that, but they can feel a little redundant. So I'm like, what can I do that's different? Also, I was tired. Epistolary is shorter. So it's about Eliza, who is a therapist, and her life is kind of messy in the background. So I was a therapist back in the day. That was my background. So I wanted to show a therapist who they don't have all the answers. I'm sorry to tell everybody who's going to therapy, we are there to help you, but we don't necessarily have it all figured out for ourselves. So I wanted to show that aspect of being a therapist. And then she is hyper online. She, helps people through social media and everything. And she's got this image that she's portraying. And that is part of the story, is kind of what you put out in the world and what is actually going on in your life. And then she meets Beckham, who is like completely offline. He's the younger guy. He's a white hat hacker. And he kind of thinks this whole social media thing is, ridiculous. And so they kind of clash on, their opinions about that. And so that's how it starts, is, he's telling her, why are you doing that? You need to get offline. And, she's like, what are you analog person? Like, what are you trying to tell me? So being pretentious.
Now, I'm going to skip real quick to the acknowledgements, which is where you note the inspiration for the digital detox that goes on. That's really central to the story. So could you tell me about that?
Sure. So I thanked Cal Newport, who wrote Deep Work, in my acknowledgements, because I went into a deep dive probably 2 years ago of, I was feeling too connected. I was feeling like I was not getting writing done because I was always online. I think it's the plight of many people now, and I did like a 30-day detox. I've also done that with my son when he was a couple years younger. We did a summer with, he was completely digitally off of everything, no iPads and all of that. And so it's something that I've really dug into on the nonfiction side. And I wanted to kind of bring that into my fiction of, what is it like to step away? And, what are the boundaries between what we share with others and what we keep private? And so I wanted to explore it in fiction.
Did you go through any withdrawal symptoms? Were you like in a corner, just like shaking?
Not that bad, but I will say, like, the first week or so, you keep like picking up your phone, and I removed all the apps off my phone. So it was like muscle memory to like put my thumb on those spots. So that was hard, but I think after like a week, it was like, oh, like there's quiet, and I can do other things, and I'm not distracted by, did that person respond to my comment, or do I need to respond to other things? And then you almost dread at the end of the 30 days, like, I got to go back into the like fray. So I actually found that I was like, okay, how am I going to go back in a, responsible way and not get back to, like, I've never really gone back to Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but I literally just post like announcements. I don't get on there and read things. And so I cut some things out. I learned to cut some things out.
In For You and No One Else, Eliza and Beck's relationship arc is quite the journey. They are virtual strangers who become friends, lovers, partners, and you write it so freaking well. Like I love you and friends to lovers, like you own that trope.
Thank you.
What is your approach to crafting a relationship arc that involves constantly evolving emotions and shifting roles? What are we? We're friends, we're lovers. Do you spend a lot of time before you write getting to know the characters intimately and kind of working through the whole scope of their relationship and like, okay, now I'm ready to write? I mean, how do you do it? Because it's quite an undertaking and you do it so really well that it's such a, like, all your books are such page turners, particularly in the series. So I was just wondering if you could share a little bit about how you go about writing that.
Well, first, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I love that you picture that I have this big plan before. That is not the case. I do some character work. So plot wise, I often don't know anything beyond the setup. When I start, whatever I've pitched to the publisher is all I know.
Okay.
And then I look for the character's wound. So it's always a weird word to say, wound. So what was the thing that scarred them in their life? What is the thing that really has influenced them in their personality development? I need to know that before, usually. Sometimes it'll change as I'm writing and be like, oh, it's really this. But like with Beckham, I knew he was offline and he was young. So I'm like, why? Why is he offline? What made him do that? And it couldn't just be, oh, I'm too cool to be online. Like it needed to be something deep. And I'm not going to reveal what that is, but so I need to know those things. But then when the characters get on the page, I let them evolve naturally. I'm not a plotter, so I'm a pantser. And my characters talk a lot. So I know I get feedback of like, these characters are really self-aware. And a lot of people like that. So that's good. But I can't write characters who don't have those discussions. Like the big misunderstanding plot is not a favorite of mine. So it's like, we're going to talk this out. And we have conflict that we can't quite resolve. Yeah. Like you feel this way and I feel this way. And there's this gulf between us. And I don't know how we're going to cross it. And so I have them put that out there instead of it being in the background of, I really wish we could be in a relationship. And he really wishes I don't want it to be hidden. So lots of talking.
Yeah. And I would say that is where your therapist training comes into play, because, from page one of your novels, I feel as if there's such a depth of awareness and emotion. And you're right. Like, I don't like when there's all when a story is, the conflict is all based on misunderstandings. Like there's honest discussions. There's a lot of great, like I kept highlighting things on my, e-reader because there's so much wisdom and insight, and everything in the conversations. So I would like to see more therapists becoming romance novelists. A lot of lawyers become romance novelists, right?
Yes.
But I want to see more therapists because I immediately plug into whatever they're writing. I think that really works for you. That works to your benefit in writing.
Glad I'm putting that degree to some use.
So now I have to talk about my favorite scene is the NoPho party scene. And it's an 80s slumber party theme. I could have read several chapters of just this party. It was everything to me. I loved it. This NoPho, it's NoPho. So it's people like get to this party and they lock up their phones and they just have like an analog good time. In this, it's an 80s slumber party. So they're playing slumber party games like spin the bottle. And there's the use of Bonnie Bell lip smacker flavored lip balms, which I just loved. I could almost taste it, like as you were describing it. So have you ever been to a party like this? I was trying to like find online, like, is this a thing? Is this your own invention?
So I don't know if they exist. It is something I just came up with because it's kind of like my personal fantasy of like that these exist and we could go kind of retro and go back and not have people staring at their phones at a party. It would be so much fun. And it also let me write like YA type scenes in an adult romance because they're playing like slumber party games. So I always love the tension of a spin the bottle or, something like that. So it was a lot of fun to write. But yeah, I kind of wish they existed.
The other scene that sticks out is when Eliza is reading aloud from a Regency romance novel, and she's
Mhm.
reading it to Beck. And I noticed someone even mentioned this on a Goodreads review, said, I would love to read that book. So you wrote like a nice size, paragraph, and it's so engaging. Is this,
Oh.
are you trying to tell us something? Like, are you planning on writing a Regency historical romance? Is this from an excerpt from a past work that you put on a shelf? Like, tell me about that.
It's funny because I did have a reader email me and say, does that book exist? Can I find it? And I was like, I've never expected that. No, I completely made it up. I love I love reading Regency romance. I'm super intimidated to write historical romance because of the accuracy and the details that I would have to know. So I don't know if I'm qualified yet to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, I love reading it. So I don't rule it out in the future, but I am intimidated, I think, because in contemporaries, I can make up whatever I want.
Well, of course. Yes. Yeah. So Liza's writing a book, which I won't go into. And the book, or the work in progress, is titled Untitled Book, because titles are hard. So I feel as if that was speaking from your soul. So do you agree? Was it hard for you to think up the titles for all of your books in the series? Because I feel like you were talking to me and saying, Liz, titles are really hard. Wink, wink.
Yes, Liz, I was definitely talking to you because they are
That's all I
really
need to
hard.
know.
Yeah. No, titles are really difficult. In this series in particular, Yes and I Love You, we brainstormed a bunch, but Yes and I Love You came to me relatively easily because of the improv feature there, because of the yes and. But then you're stuck with a titling convention for a whole series, right? So I'm like, what goes with Yes and I Love You? Like, what did I do to myself? So me and the people at the publishing company just made a huge list of things with and in it, to go like, what do these sound like? And we finally came up with What If You and Me for book 2, and For You and No One Else for this one. But yeah, it's really difficult. And to have them say something about the book too, like these had to be a little vaguer than the first one was tied to the theme, whereas For You and No One Else, it's sort of vague. So
Right.
yeah, it's a little difficult.
For You and No One Else, there were discussions between Eliza and Beck about performance versus reality, how it relates to the social media space. And Eliza struggles with what success and happiness is supposed to look like, and how those goals are measured by others versus what would bring her personal fulfillment and happiness. So do you identify with Eliza's need to unplug and undergo a digital detox, which you did mention that you did do a digital detox? Did you draw on your own experiences and feelings to inform Eliza's character and her decisions?
Yeah, I think I definitely pulled from it because for me, I'm an extreme introvert. Like that's just naturally how I am. So being online and being enthusiastic and upbeat, and like if you see me out and enthusiastic somewhere, that's not really me. So I'm like, middling on my emotions. I'm pretty low key.
Yeah.
So for me to like drum that up for social media, because to be on social media, you kind of have to always be excited and using exclamation points. And in my real life, I don't use exclamation points, but so it's not inauthentic, but it's like an amplified version that is not necessarily who I am at the core. So I think that's what I played on with Eliza of she is a person who wants to help others. She is a person who wants, to promote mental health and things like that. But the way she was having to do it and always present of being like, hi, I'm totally, got everything together, was a lot of pressure on her. So I definitely pulled from personal experience of just having to be author self and having to be personal self for two different things. And I just went to a conference and it's the same thing. You have to be very upbeat and, extroverted and things that take a lot of energy from somebody who's very introverted. So yeah, I definitely was pulling from some personal experience.
Now that we just talked about digital detoxing, what is one thing from analog life that you miss?
Wow, there's probably a lot of things. I think I miss when you go out to dinner with friends and things that you're completely present all the time. Nobody's checking their phone. Nobody's got buzzing in their pocket. Like you're just there in the moment. Nobody's taking pictures to document the moment. It's just everybody's there looking at each other in the eyes, talking. And really, we don't do that as much anymore, including myself. So I'm not, immune to that. But I think just that level of connection in knowing that, kind of like you said about the NoPho parties, knowing that this is a moment in time that we have to remember because we're not documenting it. We're not putting it out in the world. It's just here and now and being here. So I think that's probably part of it. And then of course, all the distraction, just being able to like focus would be nice. So
Yeah. I agree. Digital detox, I'm kind of interested in doing it.
Yeah.
But like maybe in a month or two, because I've got too much going on,
Yeah, it's a good experiment, and it's something that you can document, so you can get, other people on board, and you can make it fun. But
right. Well, that's just it. If I'm going to do it, I want everyone who I would normally talk to do it too. That way I'm not missing out on anything.
Right. Oh, FOMO.
Yes.
I've been on a 6-month sabbatical. So I did take a solid break. I'm in month 5 of sabbatical. So I really did need to like purge a little bit of, getting out of a series and being creative again. So,
right. Now, during that time, do you do anything to inspire your creative brain in other ways?
So I did start a podcast with a friend. So I have the Rad Reading podcast, and that meant I had to do a lot of reading because we recommend books. So what inspires me is reading other people's books and watching movies and great TV shows. And so kind of like all that input of creativity is what I need to kind of come out with my own. So yeah, lots of reading for the last couple of months. And I've binge watched some TV shows and things like that. So that's more my style of, kind of vegging out and, getting back to creativity.
I'm glad you mentioned Rad, because I was going to ask you about it. I didn't ask about it last time, although I'm not sure if you had it going on.
No, it's new.
Tell me what it stands for, and tell me about what's a show that you recently binge watched.
So Rad Reading stands for Refresh and Discover for your reading life. So basically, me and my friend Dawn Alexander, who's an editor, wanted to people who maybe have lost reading in their life, or they've put books aside and can't get back into them. We cover all kinds of genres, so it's not just romance specific. But we just wanted to have fun and do something that was, not about advertising or not about just having a good time. And we also joke that RAD stands for Ronnie and Dawn, because that is our names.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And the one I most recently binge watched was The Summer I Turned Pretty. So on Amazon Prime, it's based on a book by Jenny Han.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I have not read nor watched the series. Really?
Yeah. It's so like throwback love triangle teen, beachy story. It was so good. I watched it like in 2 days. So really good.
Love triangles. I have a love-hate relationship with love triangles.
Yeah. I tend to write triangles that they all end up together. So nobody gets left out.
Would you rather lose your wallet or your mobile phone?
Wallet.
I agree. That's something I see all the time, is I would rather lose the wallet. Mm-hmm. Would you rather have infinite battery life for your mobile phone or infinite fuel for your car?
Oh, definitely car. So, especially with gas prices right now, definitely car.
Would you rather have free, unlimited access to all TV streaming services for 1 year, or have a personal chef prepare your meals for 1 year?
So I love to cook. So that's, I would miss out on the cooking. But I'm also really busy. So I think I would take the personal chef and just give him a few days off here and there so I can cook.
Oh, okay. I like it. Would you rather communicate exclusively via snail mail or via text using a flip phone?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, I met my husband online back in the day with AOL, but it was not on a flip phone at least. So, it's ancient, but not that ancient. No, I think I would do letters. It can be an epistolary relationship.
Would you rather lose all of the content on your mobile phone or lose $1,000?
So this is the stuff that's in the cloud too. I lose all of that too.
Everything. everything.
I'm paying $1,000 for that. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Take the money.
Would you rather have the slowest internet connection on the planet or never see a movie in the movie theater again?
I would say never see the movie in the movie theater again. So I live in the country and we had to have satellite internet, which is like pretty slow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just got like the little T-Mobile like portable hotspot thing that we still don't have wired internet here. So yeah, I'm over the slow internet.
Would you rather have all of your books stolen or your physical books stolen, or would you rather lose your e-reader?
I think I'd rather lose my e-reader because as you can see behind me, I have a lot of books.
You have a lot of books. You do.
Yeah, and e-reader can be replaced and I can go to the library and get, other things. But yeah, I want my books.
Okay. Well, Roni, it has been a pleasure to catch up with you and to chat with you here on Reader Seeks Romance.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.